We're going live. Boom.
We made it.
Oh, all right, cool. All right, well, we've got a comment on YouTube. I think it was someone just waiting. So you check and make sure we're good. We'll see if we've hit the Twitter yet. Just a reminder, it is like 30 seconds delayed, or almost like a minute delayed when we're on there.
Nice, but
Nice.
Oh yeah, Jordan Rogers is live.
40, nice.
Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Brian, what's cracking, brother?
What up, Brian?
Be nice.
What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Also, thanks for bearing with us, y'all. This is new for us, so we're testing out new stuff. So y'all are getting ground experience of us trying new things out now.
That's right.
Damn, I gotta up my background setup like you guys. We got B-Man, color coordinated as well.
We can help. We can help with that.
I got like a luxury happening behind me.
Yeah. You got some luxury. You got some product.
Should we pop the jewel that mezcal just to kick off? Or
there you go. You look at Jordan, you're just like, this man is about sports. You look at me, and it's like, dude, he's got wires hanging out his TV.
I look at Ashwinn, I'm like, Ashwinn's about that business.
I don't time for decoration.
That's true.
Yeah, Jordan, what happened? While we set up, we're gonna get some screen share going. In the meantime, Jordan, what happened to the Mavs, brother? That's one of the questions we had on here. You want to?
Wow.
Hey, absolutely dominated. The Boston was the better team. They got destroyed. It's very unfortunate, breaking my Mavs heart. But you know, maybe we can make another run at it next year.
Thanks for the person who mentioned the mic. I realized my mic was sitting on the ground underneath the computer. So thank you for
literally always do that all the time. Literally all the time.
I filmed an entire video 2 days ago with no audio whatsoever. So felt great about that.
It happens to the best of us.
Yes.
All right. So news from the week. I think what we can kick off. Do we want to go right into Amazon Prime? K dot. You know.
Yeah. I mean, all right, so I could definitely tee that one up. So if you have not been paying attention to what's been happening all over social media right now, Kendrick Lamar partnered with Amazon Music to do a concert for Juneteenth at the Forum called the Pop-Out. Now, the Pop-Out phrasing became popular because Kendrick actually mentioned that in his song, Not Like Us. He then ended up bringing a bunch of friends to stage, Tyler, the Creator, Mustard on the Beat, YG. You even had Russell Westbrook up there dancing as well. Dr. Dre up there. Kendrick then went on to perform Not Like Us just about 6 times, which is his Drake diss that went #1 on Billboard. But the thing that was super interesting to me, obviously there's a ton of things that we can talk about in there, but the thing that hits my world is the Nike Shox that are now reselling at a different value than they were the day before. And
where were Nike Shox at in the culture prior to this? Right,
non-existent. It's like the most uncomfortable sneaker to wear ever.
Yeah, where are we headed? I mean, I don't even think you could get those at factory stores right now, bro. Like,
I like to point out he was also wearing a The Row hoodie, and so it's like he had like the Dusty sneaks in the back, and then had like the Olsen twins hoodie. That's like $900. It's like my man's really out here living every life.
Which is hilarious because I'm like, oh look, Kendrick's trying to like downplay the look for this performance. He's just trying to be low key, and he's literally his chain was like I think $600,000. Like
you know the stylist had it laid out. He had some like Martine Rose shoes. You know they had something. He was like, I'm wearing the Shox. Yeah.
Yo, I've actually. I maybe connecting the topic from last week on running has been on a rocket ship. I've been wondering to me when they first came out was always like, yo, this is Nike Shox just reskinned under something else. So maybe they're just drafting off of that trend and we're going to see some Shox making a comeback.
I did hear a rumor that Shox might be coming back. And I did post a story just kind of addressing like, hey, like these are some of the reasons why I think it could make sense. Obviously, some of the stuff I put in there, I was just being funny. Like I told him to make 5 different pairs to go along with Kendrick's wop, wop, wop. But in all serious, here's the thing about this from a collab marketing standpoint that makes sense. Like this is additional money that Nike doesn't need to actually go big on the budget because the story's already there. And literally what they're doing is leveraging something that's already there. The consumer is already excited about it. The story is super familiar, right? And so you have an opportunity to continue to extend that story and then perhaps parlay it into a different thing. So I would use this strategy if I were Nike, if I actually had the intention of making a run at Shox, right? Because when we look at the marketplace right now, we look at the 2000s, like 2000s from a footwear standpoint, fashion standpoint, it's everywhere. in the athleisure space, in the sportswear space, in the fashion space. It's a major topic right now. And so if I'm them, like shocks was like a big thing. Like it is well known, whether, you know, fashion is subjective. We know this, right? So I'm not even going to go into that side of it. But as far as being a part of the conversation, having something authentic, like how many of us saw the Boeing ads growing up? That was me. We used to call them, me and my friend used to call them the Boeings. I didn't even call them shocks. So if I'm trying to bring these back, this is a authentic entry back in there. Now, what is this? Y'all found some sneakers on eBay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just shopping real quick on eBay. I'm grabbing Ashwinn some new shoes, you know, to the West Side Highway.
Ashwinn's gonna run on the West Side Highway with these.
Just bring it back in the Nike shocks. There we go.
Ashwinn, Ashwinn, do you think you could do 13 miles in those?
I can do 13 miles on anything, brother.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we're gonna send Ashwinn out to the West Side Highway to ask if they
those Vibrams 5 fingers.
Bro, after this Kendrick concert, the West Side Highway is gonna have new meaning with shocks. Hey, this is actually some incredible content that we could create. Ashwinn's new. I posted your shoe size last week, Ashwinn, for some footwear connoisseurs. Some people said they were in your DMs. Maybe we just need to go straight to shocks and get you some on eBay and do a video challenge. For
if we're gonna do the 40, if we're all gonna do a time 40 against each other, it all has to be in the Nike shocks.
Yeah, that's the first meetup for sure.
So I want to put ourselves in the shoes of the Amazon Prime executives. So let's go around the table. We're the Amazon Prime exec team. You're like, all right, Kendrick Lamar, Juneteenth. We're going to solve gang violence. We're going to throw shots at Canada. I'm sure Amazon Prime Canada is hurting right now. How did this come about? Is this what they wanted? Did this exceed expectations? Like, is this a normal combo that they had? Did they expect it to have the cultural resonance it did? You know, was Jeff CC'd on all the emails? You know, what do y'all think?
Bima is our resident Amazon partner, so we should ask Bima.
I knew this was coming my way. Here's what I will say, right? So the thing with Amazon and Amazon Music, and just as I'm looking at it, right? Like if I'm them, I want to make it known that like we're here in the music space. We're here to be a prominent player in the music space. Kendrick Lamar, coming off of what's happened this year, is one of the biggest acts in music. And so for them, it puts a giant billboard in the air and into the consumer mindset, like, hey, like, yo, get on Amazon Music. Now, to Oren's point, did they know what was coming with this concert? I don't know, but I'm assuming they had to have a hunch, right? Because like Kendrick's very obvious and very transparent about all the things that are a part of his brand. Now, getting in the middle of a beef, they pick sides, right? Like I don't think Drake is anytime soon coming to do anything on Amazon Music. But here's the thing. I'm like, man, Apple Music needs to be calling Drake right now.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We have the streaming wars now enter rap beef, bro. Like, wow, this is a fascinating confluence of events. They're going to be picking sides. Who is Drake aligned with? Does he have a preference? He doesn't have a spot. Who does he normally drop?
Well, no, remember he did like a really big Apple deal a couple years back. Yeah. He did this really big Apple deal a couple years back, right? And so, and it was a big deal because Jay-Z had just done the title thing, and he had, you know, Nicki Minaj, Kanye, Rihanna, and they did this big photo. I don't know if y'all remember that, and then it didn't go over so well. But that's not the point of what I'm making. The whole point was that people were upset with Drake for going with Apple and not going over with Tidal with Jay-Z.
How's Tidal doing?
Hey man, I'm a loyal Tidal subscriber. Okay, I'm an Amazon Music and a Tidal guy.
Really? When he pops his Beats Pros on, you know what I'm saying? He's just straight to Tidal for that lossless sound.
Guys, we've also got to we need a postmortem on Beats by Dre as well. Did the Dre appearance last night with Kendrick, is there a resurgence for Beats at some point?
Beats is whack. And the kids don't fuck with Beats. The kid, you know what I mean? Like the AirPod Maxes really just sent that shit packing. And then like Bose is the only people that have been doing anything interesting. I love the Bose Brigade collab. I don't know if you guys saw that. That shit was awesome.
No, pull that up.
No, but I mean, I've seen a lot of the stuff Bose has been doing. I feel like they've now occupied the space and like kind of sports marketing that Beats used to. Beats used to have some incredible stuff where they would just pair up like the latest trending hip hop and then whoever the hot star is. Like they actually did Lil Baby and Ja Morant a couple years ago. Yep. But Bose is occupying that space now with Dame and plenty of other. They have Anthony Edwards. Speaking of Anthony Edwards,
yeah, they do have Anthony Edwards.
They've got your boy Oren.
Victor.
Who's your jeweler
I'm
guy?
pulling up now. Yeah, look, as soon as they launched the Victor Solomon diamond and gold encrusted, Bose wireless, it was a wrap. They were back in the scene.
Yeah.
No, real talk though. Do you think the one thing that I will say about like Apple and Beats, like I know we're at a place where like we're not interested in like them from a marketing standpoint. The one thing that I just can't get over is like I genuinely don't like the way that these Bose headphones look. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Like I don't want to walk around with that on my head.
Oh yeah, I mean, none of us are actually using this. For sure. That's where the iPod, that's where the AirPod Pros, whatever the fuck they are, the iPod Pros. That's where they win. It's because the look, because of the like what's his name, Mason Racha.
I have a pair of those. So I've got a pair of those. I've done a partnership with Bose. There are a couple of places that they are actually, worthwhile, and their noise canceling ones are great for travel. But yeah, the Apple, when Apple acquired Beats, they basically just killed Beats with AirPods and AirPod Max,
which is hilarious. It's the thing. As soon as this dropped, I was like, it's a wrap. Like as soon as they're doing like custom, like you're treating it like a jewelry piece, I was like, it's over. And you got the youth in the stranglehold. And you're right. The Bose ones, they look unique enough. Look, that's the challenge, right? When you're designing something like this and you want to stand out, is you have to have a unique look that people recognize it on the street, the way you recognize it with, you can't just be too much like an iPod, which I feel like Beats did not nail that with their wireless and then the over ear and all that. It just didn't have a unique enough look. Sony's just been completely out of the game. Sony sucks on that from a naming standpoint. Name me what the wireless headphones Sony has is. They're like the A45 11 plus, lubricant. Like you're just like, what are you doing? And then they'll have four others next to it with a completely different naming structure. And so it's like you can't actually tell people what you buy. Bose at least has an interesting different look and kind of you can associate it with it. And it has like names you can remember. Beats just didn't nail the look and iPod still got it. So if you have to do that, you have to have a memorable look. You have to be able to have a name that's repeatable. And I feel like you have to be able to have a design segment that's part of the culture, which Beats nailed it first to continue with some of the collabs, but have now kind of lost to the simplicity of the culture making the AirPod Maxes or whatever these are called, like an interesting art piece. Not Apple, like the people did it.
That's true, guys. I've been in the headphone wars here through content. So we do have the example of, we've got the Bose here. We've got Skull Candy. Somebody's called out wired headphones making a comeback.
Big on the wired Skull Candy headphones.
The wired Skull Candy joints. I got a pair of those in. I'm glad Jordan said that.
I got like 14 pairs of those. Yeah,
my Skull Candy.
We're about to go skate in those later.
maybe we found the Brand Brothers sponsor for our.
I'm gonna say, look. This is not to be the snobbish one here. We got to go audiophile, brother. You need some wood in your life. You need some Grados. You know what I mean? Like we got to go serious. We got to use some prestige line.
This is for serious audiophiles only.
Hey, what happened to what's the
Master Dynamic?
Yeah, Master Dynamic. What happened to these?
They had some good stuff going on, but like I just haven't seen much from them in a few years probably.
I mean, look, they got likes turned off on their posts, so they're probably doing great.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on.
Likes turned off on a post is never a good look.
We've got live reporting from Gen Z here in college. Kellen Pratt says, in college right now, a lot of people complain about the comfort of AirPod Max and are slowly shifting away because they slip off during workouts as well. Wow.
Yeah. What are they wearing instead? We need the on the ground youth report.
They're saying Skull Candy's the biggest comeback of 2024.
I'm just saying, call it out.
I will shout out to Taylor, who introduced all of us, works out of the Skull Candy office by me in Costa Mesa. I came there and I'm looking around looking for the office, and he pops out of a Skull Candy door. Yeah. I was like, oh, here we go. So you never know.
Who's the Skull
Master
Candy?
Dynamic? Ashwin, if you were going to fix Master Dynamic, how would you do it, brother? How do you make these likes go up, man? 6 days, 3 comments.
Master Dynamic, when I first heard that name, I'm like, this is giving me BDSM vibes, You got to lead heavy into like sex bondage culture.
It's the MD pros. We're pivoting to the medical market. You know what I'm saying? You wear these while operating.
There we go.
Bro.
Damn, man said Master.
Wow.
Classic fetish play.
Gotten heated. Hey, this is going on LinkedIn, Ashwin. We got to be careful.
That's right. We got to know our audience.
Hey, marketers have a sick sense of humor.
Yeah, Blake Pratt saying the London Olympics Beats that era was
a great era,
bro. really did.
All right, so what does Apple even want to bring Beats back? Like, what do we?
Well, here's what I think, Oren. I think Beats was always a cultural play, in my opinion. Right. The thing that was so great about Beats was Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, and they truly had a hold on culture, especially the Beats radio. Like, I think a lot of people get lost on that, but like to me, that was one of the biggest communities from a marketing standpoint. And to me, that is what Apple bought. Right. They bought that. They wanted to get that authenticity. It's going to be cheaper. They weren't going to be able to compete with Beats at that point in time. And so it was better for them to buy in, bring that into their fold. And I think that's what's working for them. Now, at this current point in time, I think the issue is us as consumers, we definitely don't know why Apple and Beats currently still exist. And I'm not even sure if they've defined like what is the clear direction moving forward for why they exist, because for all the points that you're making, it's like feels redundant. And then also it doesn't feel like the design aesthetic is keeping up with where the industry should be going.
Yo, that 50% off on Amazon is a rough look. My man, list $349, but I will say still 10,000 units a month. You know, that's no joke.
All right. So since we have some young people, why is the discount bad for a brand, Oren?
All right. So, well, I mean, on Amazon, it's bad for a brand because once you discount on Amazon like that means you're discounting at retail like that, right? Walmart and Amazon have software with Target, everyone else, that basically price matches. So you drop to $179 on Amazon, and for more than a day or so, Walmart.com automatically drops their prices. Target.com goes and has a meeting with you. You have to go do pricing support for your retail partners. So that means you are across the channel at that low price. And then once you discount regularly, more than like 1 or 2 sales a year, you are a discount brand. People wait to buy you at discount, and then you no longer have any of that aura, right? You're just kind of lost. Whereas Apple, you know, we're listing down from $549, but everyone knows you ain't actually buying any AirPods ever at $549. But I will say, this AirPod Max, we're selling way less on Amazon. Obviously, Amazon is more of a discount program, and Apple doesn't do a lot on there. But only 4K a month of these Apples versus 10Ks of those Beats. I mean, it's 3 times the price, so they're probably bringing in way more profit off that.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, for most of y'all to know, you want to keep a premium brand. You want people to be clamoring. You want people to be reselling your brand for higher than retail. When you have it lower than retail, it just says discount. It says you're moving this out. You're not wanting it.
Ashwinn, how do you think about the Run the Vibe tagline? Are we messing with Run the Vibe?
Run the Vibe. Who is that, Bose?
It's over.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Run the Vibe?
Go beyond the beat.
Is it meant for the West Side Highway? Is it their athletic wear or no?
See,
Okay.
this is when like seriously, no one like in the meeting, like go back, Oren, just please, because I gotta go in on this.
Yeah,
like,
let's go.
Just in the meeting, Run the Vibe. Who was like, yes, this is like the most amazing tagline that people are gonna love. Like it was my same issue. I'm gonna tee this up for Jordan. We can go into this later, but it's my issue with don't stop disbelieving on this Jordan ad. No one says these things, and no one wants to read them and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get me some Bose.
Don't stop disbelieving.
No one.
What I think is the real kind of challenge, right? With like any kind of corporate marketing ad agencies, that every individual around the table will look at that and be like, yeah, that's not bad. That's bad. Like that's not it. I would never write that. But like collectively as a group, you have to find consensus, and it's like consensus to the lowest common denominator. And like, you know, the copywriter puts out something really strong, and then someone chimes in and it's like, oh, that word's not right. Can we like workshop this? And then someone who shouldn't be writing copy is like, why don't we say like Run the Vibe, you know? And it's like someone who's in their 50s and like, oh, you know, my kids talk about the vibe. And then the copywriter just has to like run with that. And then you just get this trash like this. What is it saying? Run the vibe, turn up the vibe with a portable speaker that takes the party to the max. I mean, that is like the least cool ad I've seen this year, you know? Yeah. And it's like, sure.
All right, so what are we doing better? If you're Bose, we're workshopping, what we hitting on the tagline? For the portable speaker, the portable Bose. I mean, I'm of the vote that you don't even need a tagline. You should be telling this story in short form video, but you know, what do y'all got?
Yeah, I honestly don't think the tagline is the most important thing. You know, I think for them, it's just like, yo, just let's be authentic about it. Let's have some fun.
I'm gonna throw it out there. It's a Bose in a box.
It's a Bose.
It's a Bose in a box. However,
there we go. Intriguing enough.
It's not distinct to. They have other boxes, I think.
We got the Aura. Yeah, that's right. Vibe is 5 years ago. We gotta be Aura. If this is Run the Aura, I'd be like, at least someone's fucking clocked in. You know.
I'm hung up on run.
More
Y'all are
control.
moving to vibe. I'm hung up on run. And for anybody who's tuning in here, this is what a marketing meeting looks like. This is what we do. We obsessed the words that are on there.
We understand why this works, right? Like I met a bunch of guys from Monster. Shout out Monster. I've worked with a bunch of guys from Monster. I understand why they're not. You look at the decision approval process. I'm like, no one here. They're living in 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of these companies are too, because that's when you get to a certain control point. And like, to Ashwin's point, these meetings go around and some will have a good idea, will get butchered by the end. And look, the problem is the people that actually know what's up either aren't in those meetings, or you get fed up enough of it, like we all have, where we don't have a job anymore, right? Where you're like, cool, I'd rather just do my own shit because I'm too tired of being in those meetings and be like, what the fuck are you thinking? And then someone eventually gets mad. Like, why is the tattooed guy telling me what I should think? And so you end up just outside of this. And that's a tough part of it. And then also, once you have credibility in those brands, like Beats did this right for a while, you go cash out. And then someone else has control of the IP, and it is what it is.
Totally.
It's true. So, I mean, to me, the vibe, like they have a lot of, performance. Like if you were trying to make like something that was to our, college students' point, like something that works with workouts or running, that's where I immediately go when you have the run,
the image in the language is talking about a party, right? So
bring the vibe.
Right.
Someone said bring the vibe in the chat. Bring the vibe is at least 2x
bring the
better
vibe
than run
would be
the
dope.
vibe.
But here's what I would say.
Bring the aura is tap the fuck in. I'm just saying.
Aura, I'm down with you, Oren. But here's the thing about vibe. I think vibe shouldn't even be used right here anymore. Because the partnership that would have made sense for this would have been like 2 Chainz 2018 when he had the song called "It's a Vibe," which was actually on the Billboard charts, which would have made sense. This no longer makes sense. It's dated. It's completely dated. So you have to go with something.
Right, but look, luckily we have better sound, better savings.
It's a mess all over the place. This is Papa John's in Bose form.
You pull up.
Oh my God, it is.
Better ingredients, better sound. What are we doing?
You're right.
What are we doing?
You pull up, party pops off, they said. Oh my God.
Yeah, they said run it, homepage. You know what I'm saying? No. Hero banner.
Guys, hey, you know how this goes. Some poor copywriter is like, we've shot the thing, we've gotten approved. God forsaken, just put some words on this thing to get it out.
You never heard it like this before. Is like for a sound bar. I'm not mad. I'll give that a B-.
Hey, the sound bar is.
Yo, shout out Victor on the homepage. I want to give Victor his flowers. My guy on the Bose homepage. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go.
Hey,
I think there's like, if you go back to that party concept, right? They're saying like run the vibe, bring the vibe. Like the party concept is interesting. If you just had this like visual or like video of people in like clearly in like a rave kind of like warehouse, right? Having like a sick time, and you think there's a DJ on this side, but it like spins around and then you just see like Bose, right? So it's like,
does Gen Z do that anymore? You know what I'm saying? Gen Z, are y'all raving?
Are y'all
raving a millennial construct?
It's
no,
EDM.
Here's another one. Here's another one that would be more relevant. Another one that would be more relevant would just be call it the pop out and party, because obviously pop out is on everyone's top of mind right now.
True. That's a great one.
We should move along.
True believers in the power of sound. All right, cool. Yeah, we can workshop both here for a while.
I have bad news. This was not even on the agenda. Hey, also, we need to give 2 references. Raymond here was actually working on Master and Dynamic in the comments here, who was talking about it. And we have the legendary Jimo Wong, who commented that he did work for Master and Dynamic. If y'all don't know, Jimo is basically behind every cool Jordan collab you've ever seen. For the last several years. He left Jordan, I think, a year or 2 ago. So anyway, we got some hitters in the comments.
Legends.
All right. Yeah, we can move on. That was topic number 1.
Topic right now. We're hitting Dr. Pepper just passed Pepsi as the second biggest soda brand. And so I'm just saying, so Gen Z in the comments, let us know if you still drink soda. Everyone I know has moved on to Poppy and Olipop, right? Like you can't see a soda in Orange County country club culture. There is not an OG soda besides Diet Coke left. Are y'all still sipping on that sweet caffeinated nectar, or like where are y'all at? And if so, is Dr. Pepper your second choice?
Well,
Dr. Pepper pops on TikTok. I mean, Coke and Pepsi, they're all kind of at a million views, but like Dr. Pepper consistently has been really good on social. If you watch their content, it's like they're like Coke and Pepsi doing like the standard, like high production, like let's repurpose some like TV content, throw, some interesting audio over it, get like 10,000 views, right? Pepsi and Coca-Cola on TikTok. Dr. Pepper is dropping these like ridiculous memes. They just like understand TikTok content. They put it in the hands of people who understand it. They engage in the commentary. They engage out in the wild. And I think they've just done a good job like getting attention and building resonance with that younger audience. And people are just in Dr. Pepper's comments all the time. How much of that, you know, is a reason for how they got to number 2? I have no idea, but like they have a good presence on social.
Oren, you got to bring up Dr. Pepper's TikTok.
Yeah, I need to see what they've been doing.
So I got hit by the CNN pop-up and I was trying to respond to comments. All right.
Well, not to be confused with Dr. Pepper Deutschland. Wow, who knew they were hidden like that over in Germany? But I as the resident Texan here, I do got to give you a little bit of trivia. Dublin Dr. Pepper is the Mexican Coke of Dr. Pepper, which is made, it's Dr. Pepper made with real cane sugar. And that's here in Dublin, Texas, the original factory of Dr. Pepper. So there's a little fun fact for you.
I appreciate the Texas fun fact. For any of y'all that came in looking for some geography too, what states is Texas between? Are we between Arkansas and Oklahoma? Or are we? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we should also tell. But yeah, we've got Texas here, Dallas, Portland with Bima, Orange County with Oren, and New York with Ashwinn. So we're covering 4 corners here.
This is a phenomenal post, by the way.
Ashwinn, break this down. So Ashwinn, for me, because I'm coming in new to Dr. Pepper and this kind of like them being at number 2. What do you think is so interesting about what they're doing on TikTok?
Listen, it's the radius alone.
Yeah. Here's what I think is really important. Me and Oren were talking about this a little bit last night. Is like when you think about social, there are norms of like conversation and content and commentary that have to be appreciated per platform, right? The way you talk on Twitter is very different than like the content and how you talk on TikTok, very different than how you talk on Facebook, very different than how you talk on LinkedIn. But like the mistake that brands make is they will come across and they'll say like social, it's like one big bucket. We can do the same thing across all of it. And Dr. Pepper's coming here and they're like, we just know this is going to work on TikTok. They know it because the people making this content are like they speak like the cultural, like linguistic code of TikTok, right? Yeah. So any executive at Dr. Pepper is probably looking at this and it's like, dude, what is this trash? Like filmed on the iPhone, doesn't even make sense. Like you set up a shot on, it's like a 3-panel shot of like your kitchen table, the radius, the distance from this orange makes no sense. But it's like if your
Bose copywriting team is losing their mind right now. You know,
you get it. You know, like there's no art directors involved. There's no one. It's just like one person making this content. And that's a thing with. You know, it's really surprising to see a large brand that's a legacy brand doing TikTok and especially like short form content really well. And it's like, you know, Wendy's, of course, has been like heralded for a very long time for like their unhinged Twitter, but it's really like the work of 2 people who got on the Wendy's Twitter and they're like, let us run with it. Cause like we know Twitter and then it starts working and then everyone's like, all right, you guys keep doing your thing.
Ashwinn, I want to click down on that. Like, do you think this is an agency who's running Dr. Pepper, or do you think it's the like social media specialist who's making $42,000 a year?
You know, this is like I would have said prior to like knowing this piece of information. I would have said it's like one person in-house just doing it because agencies tend to do work that just ends up like appeasing the executive teams and like groups that you know hire them, and like it's 18 people commenting on every single video and so on. Bose actually had a really strong TikTok, and I know that was the work of an external agency. Like they went this whole unhinged route, and they were really kind of popping off in 2020, 2021 on the platform. I think over time, like they're, you know, they still have the same strategy, but the content is performing a little bit less well. So with Dr. Pepper, I'm not sure if it's it could be an external agency, but it may really just be like a few like really good people in house.
So my thing with that though is like it's fascinating because if you have someone who's, let's say they are the social media specialist who's making $45,000 a year, what they're actually delivering a ton of value for this company, and it's like this disconnect in the people who are running social, who get social versus like the executive team. And I saw this at Nike, right? The early days of social, they were like, oh yeah, like let the interns handle that Instagram thing. And then what you realize, like in a matter of whatever, 3 to 5 years, that is now the most important touch point for your consumer than, you know, the former. Oh my God, Adweek is here. If y'all don't follow Adweek, you got
okay, can we workshop the Adweek live on here? Because I love y'all. You need some help on social.
Jordan, you make a good point. I think this is what happens when like something gets really popular and then like all of a sudden senior leadership gets involved, and then the actual folks who actually know what to do in that space are not empowered to do that anymore because they have somebody sitting over their shoulder now, right? And that's what I loved about the early days of social media. When you had these social medias, I was one of those. I came in as a social media specialist at Saucony, and because it was so new, you kind of had free reign, but you are the expert because you spent so much time on these platforms and you see this growth and you're doing stuff completely different than these outside as they're doing the pop-up in retail, window displays, all this different stuff. And I think that's what's missing right now is like, there's so many processes in place and you wonder like, would it be better if brands had like a general kind of overview in place that gives, a boundary to that team? Or do they actually need to be in the weeds with this team? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know at this point.
I'll give you, I think the larger company you have, I think number one, the assessment is totally correct, right? When the platform is nascent and the company at large is not paying attention to it, you can have these individuals at the company be like, I'm going to own that channel. And like, there's no eyes on me. So I can go execute in that creative way and really get attention. But then like, you're almost a victim of your own success because you get that attention. It's kind of like in like the corporate world, you're a victim of your own success. If you like are really good at a job, you get promoted. And it's like, don't put me in that next job because I was actually good at being like the individual contributor. Like that's how it kind of feels with social. What I think really large companies have, and it's like, I talk to large companies about their social strategies. I mean, I was having this one conversation, Fortune 500, like very large company. And they were like, every single post that we make on TikTok or Reels has to go through legal review. And it takes 5 days to get legal review from them. So they'll come back with drafts, edits, etc. And I'm like, what kind of stuff is being rejected? And they'll give me 5 or 10 good ideas that they had, that they shot, that they filmed. And then legal will be like, oh, someone might not understand that this is a joke and that exposes us to liability. And they're like, how could you not imagine this like clearly 3D like AI rendered thing careening down the street is like, it's a real
and not to go motivational speaker here, but this is the opportunity for every entrepreneur and every small company that exists in the world. People are always like, how many clothing brands can there be? How can my upstart CPG brand have any success? And it's like, look, do you know how much technical debt, how many people that actually don't do anything at these jobs, how much approval process, and mostly the lack of understanding and speed on social media that you could then replicate with a small brand that is just aggressively pursuing things at the speed of culture. Like that is your opportunity to take every penny and every sale away from all one of these incumbent brands who are not going to be able to respond to it. And honestly, it should be your mission, if you have a marketing toolkit of any kind, to go make that money for yourself. That's the end of my speech.
Where's the mic drop?
And can I add, since we probably have a lot of young marketers who are following us. First of all, you're giving me PTSD, Ashwinn, from my corporate days. I've been gone. It's been 2 years this week. I'm so happy. But if you're young, I got to do crazy stuff because I was in the platforms, I was in social, and you do not realize, so many young people, if you have the ability, like make things, like get in these platforms, utilize, don't just consume the platforms, create on them, and then you'll be able to contribute at the table and have those little nuggets and understand what is actually working on these platforms and be able to speak into that, because the smart executives and the smart senior leaders will say, hey, we need you for these insights. And it's a great mix because executives can have the strategy and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. And they can help the young people channel that energy. But young people, you really need to be utilizing that expertise in your day-to-day use of the platforms to contribute to the teams that you have access to.
And I will say one thing that you'll notice is like, I don't know, when I started working on social media, I was still really in the mix with a couple companies. And when I got like 50,000 followers on TikTok, all of a sudden every meeting changed because like people knew about it. And then when I got like 100,000 on Instagram, all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. Whatever it is you think, like you can't tell me shit. Because do any of you have any success on social media? And then that dynamic, and obviously I'm a little more senior in my career on that, but if I'd had that dynamic when I was like 27, 28, like I see that now when you come into some of these rooms, like I know a lot of us do workshops with companies, and there'll be one person there that's like their social expert who's like the kid who has 70,000 followers because of whatever that people happen to know about. And like that is a very useful position to be in because there's only so much leverage you get when you have those ideas. If people don't want to take you seriously, it's just a marketing person, it's just a young person, they're like a junior or whatever, they're not a C-level, but you're like, yeah, guess what? I got 100,000 social media followers, like, and none of the rest of you do. And I don't want to hold that over you, but you should at least like let my voice be heard in the conversation. So I think and since that is like easy to build, costs you nothing but time and like aggression, I think that doing that is a huge way to get your input inside the companies that you're at, like taken way more seriously.
Bro, I had it all the time. I got on the Instagram suggested users list like early days of Instagram with 1x1 square photos. And I remember I would sit there, even with our digital and social agencies sometimes, and they would suggest things and I'd be like, well, you realize that tool, you could use this tool, the Collab tool or whatever it is, at the time. And a lot of times they didn't have those back end things, and so there's real power in that.
Yeah, total.
100%.
Hold on. I just want to go back. Ashwinn, do we know the agency of record for Dr. Pepper? Or do we think this is...
No, I'm just saying, I think that, your question was like, do we think an agency did this? I would always say like an agency is not capable of doing that. But then I gave that example of like Bose, I know worked with an external agency on this. I want to say it was like Vayner. And they did a really good job, like 2020, 2021.
Yeah, there's a couple of Vayner is still a good, like even Vayner did the Gap Tyla rollout, I believe, or at least they did the part. I was in the middle of that. I was like, oh, like there's someone who knows what they're doing, like on this, who like takes that super seriously and like knows how the media moves. And so there's still people there in motion, but I'm curious who the smaller people are that can move like that. But yeah. I know we did this for a minute. Do we want to go into the Realreal? I'll pop back into the screen share.
Yeah. We'll talk Realreal. That was an interesting one. So basically, Realreal luxury consignment brand. They launched a pop-up on Canal Street.
Damn, Ashwinn, you search Realreal pop-up, Schwinnebago brand.
Look
number
at that.
one result.
Look
You know
at
what I'm saying? That's the power of this internet shit. People don't understand. We on that SEO, brother. We live in your browser.
Ashwinn out here.
So they launched a pop-up on Canal Street in New York City. Canal Street, iconic, famous for selling counterfeit goods. So the Realreal launches a pop-up there that is closed and houses fake or counterfeit bags, just kind of on display. And then if you go up real close, and so I was like, okay, this is like, sure, is this like a good idea? Is this a gimmick? What's going on? So I go down to Canal Street. It's not too far. I check it out. I read some of the stuff on the sign, and then I just kind of sit there for like 20, 30 minutes and watch people like come by and see like, is anyone paying attention, right? Does anyone actually notice? Do people just think it's a store? Is it like not attention grabbing enough to, do people not even care? Because you're also in a city where there's like so much visual noise, right? If I look at this, I'm like, that's just a storefront. That's just a shop. And then I move on, right? Why would I
will shout out that this was done by Mythology, who's an agency that I actually really like. I did a project with last year and who were super smart and savvy and on the ball, which I thought was particularly interesting. So shout out to them. I know there's been some questions about agencies and people who do stuff in here. They are another really, really good one.
Sick. I think there is
experiential, Oren, sorry.
Kind of every experiential trend campaign, the whole nine.
So I think there was a few interesting things from like one, which was like interesting. People in the comments on both TikTok and Instagram were just like, well, the irony of this is like the Realreal sells a ton of like fake stuff. Like they're not even actually good at catching their stuff. So I think in some ways it's just like a PR move for them where they're like, hey, we're trying to get smarter about authentication and like, let's educate on like authentication and blah, blah, blah. So it's like from one end, it's that move. But I think kind of taking a step back, right, to my original question of, hey, are there people on the street engaging with the store and interacting with the store? And I actually think that's not really the right lens through which to look at it. Like, sure, maybe you get whatever, 100 eyeballs, like stopping by and kind of interacting and be like, oh, that's interesting. What's more interesting is like, okay, what is the potential or opportunities for people to share this and talk about it on social? And I think there's very much this like real strategy of like, you do these kind of like one-off gimmicks, knowing that they're, knowing that they're not going to get a ton of like eyeballs in person, but it's just going to drive a ton of social shares where people are like, oh, that's like conceptually so cool. I know here, like I made a video on them. I know there's this other creator who made a video on them, got like 500,000 views. The Realreal, their own account made a video on itself. They're like, here's why we opened up a fake store. And I was like, that's like the smartest piece of content kind of like surrounding this. Right? They're talking about their own activation. And I actually think like brands need to be doing so much more of that. I always say like, if you're doing the thing, talk about the fact that you've done the thing. Don't just be like, hey, we launched the pop-up. Like do it in that controversial way, So the Realreal's video got like a couple 100,000 views. This one got, 600,000. I think mine got like 200.
And this is what's interesting too. But here's why, and this is why I always encourage people to go search stuff in TikTok, which is like your biggest one up that anyone can have. You want to understand where a brand is really at and what's happening is number one result, the Realreal Canal Street. What are they trying to block out and what are they replacing? The Realreal is fake. There is a ton of my not my real bag. Someone here is Delulu. The Realreal is a real scam. being replaced by some shit that has the same SEO and the same terms. So there is like a four-way 4D chess happening in terms of how they're trying to control the conversation. And if they get a couple more videos between her video and Ashwinn's, or becomes more of a cultural talking point, that blocks out the rest of that conversation and blocks it out in search for a second, which is like an interesting secondary benefit of this. But this is something
point, Oren, I think
go
this would be, I think like the point of this, right? Like if we're being super savvy about it, right, is you have to play into the conversation, right? Like the point is not to just drop one little breadcrumb, drop one experiential activation. Now, to Ashwinn's point, how do you actually assume this as a mindset, assume this as now a digital strategy? And how do you start to let this infiltrate different pockets of the brand, whether it is, you know, TikTok, and you're figuring out how you interact with different, you know, creators to get them to start perpetuating different narratives, or you're doing more activations in person where you're bringing people along a part of the journey. Like, to me, it's like, if you can combine this with in real life and with digital, like, to me, that's the opportunity for the win. But it's got to go beyond just the one post. It's got to become something more.
A million percent. And I think, like, you know, the smartest kind of like example that comes to mind for me on this one of like a brand actually trying to control that narrative and like spread that message is Liquid Death did this campaign with Elf Cosmetics. They did like this corpse paint. They did this sometime last year, and there were a bunch of people who like sent me this meme of like influencers doing, it was like from this account, influencers doing things in the wild, and it was like this girl in the street, like filming a video in like some suburban video, and is like filmed from afar, like POV, like I just caught this like crazy influencer, and she's like trying to do a dance, but she's having a breakdown, right? And it has like, you know, 15 million views, like so many comments. And like the second I see that, like she had the corpse paint on, I was like, this is like Liquid Death plug this, like this is an ad, right? And no one in the comments is like seeing it or reading it as an ad, but then like you read the comments and it's like you see that at Liquid Death, like at Elf Cosmetics, but it doesn't say like hashtag ad, hashtag partnership. Like they seeded that, and because they understand like, hey, we did this thing. If we can get all of these adjacent creators to like memeify what we're doing here, where like we're not talking about the Elf Cosmetics paint, we're not talking about the corpse paint, we're not talking about Liquid Death in it, we're just showing off an influencer like having a breakdown in the streets and like in the suburbs filming herself, and like we know that's going to get shared. That's this kind of like 3D chess move that I think like really smart brands are doing. So here it's like the Realreal obviously did not reach out to me. I doubt they reached out to like that other creator to like make this content, but there's like so many ways you could see that, right? There's like a ton of people online who talk about like, you know, fake stuff, fake leather goods, who like tear stuff open. And it's like, dude, you could build so much more around this.
I want to talk about the campaign release thing for a second, because it's super important. Because it's one of those where like I have this conversation a bunch. So I'll have agencies hit me up, be like, how can we work together? And I'm like, well, every time that you do work that is interesting, like look at this, like Nikon did an ad campaign about AI. My video has more views than it. Like Porsche and Backdrop did that paint launch. My video has more views than it. I know we're all in this scenario where our videos about collabs, our videos about campaigns get more reach than that. And I'm like, look, it doesn't have to be me necessarily, but that needs to be part of the rollout strategy. Like, why are you doing a press release like at any point in time when
literally
like getting 10 creators to talk about it, which is again a fraction of that budget? And I love Ashwinn's point, because that's a creative strategy. Like you have two choices. You have aggregators, kind of like us, who talk about the things happening in the space and apply their spin to it. And then you have people that are like the idea of people that really do real versus fake, like have them like give their take and be like, look, you talk about it, you say whatever you want, you know, we're not gonna give you a ton of corporate control, like, or let's design an experience for them. Like that is the new rollout. And what's funny is one thing I liked when we were talking about the Gap Tyler rollout that that Vayner did is like, there was a whole bunch of us that they hit up to like talk about it. And we're like, hey, just give your opinion. You know, like we've seen you do other campaign breakdowns. And I'm like, they're the only agency that I've ever gotten that from. And it's like how other agencies aren't on that.
Brilliant. That is brilliant.
We also look at we talked about Ad Week earlier. It's like, what can Ad Week do on social? I'm just like, we're just like campaign response. And like and
come back. He got too hot. He got too hot.
He was too hot. Hey, the man was trying to keep him down. Hey, that's big corporates trying to keep him down.
Ad Week entered the chat.
Bose, you know what I'm saying? If you gotta try and take this down again, you know, you're trying to Boeing me, you know, like.
Oh my God.
But no, the point about Ad Week, right? It's like, yes, campaign responses.
Yep. I think that's it. I mean, bro, You're so right. It's stuff just short circuits me because there's such the old way of doing things, and they just can't get themselves out of the old way, you know, the old model, which is put the PR press release. What's the 30-second ad spot? Where's the billboard and out of home we're doing? I did want to say it reminded me of the McDonald's shake last year. The grill.
Oh my God. Yeah,
dude, so good.
When people tell me like, oh, you know, McDonald's planned this, McDonald's orchestrated this, I would have an aneurysm. I was like, you don't know anything. You haven't even worked with a company the size of 50 people, let alone a multinational company like this. This would die. This would die. You would get fired even if you brought up the idea in McDonald's corporate, right? Like you were giving corporations way too much credit. And it's like, that was like a perfect storm of like how memes like work on social. And I think what McDonald's did, which was the really right thing, is like they didn't really get involved. They didn't really try to hijack the narrative. They're like, we're going to let this play out over a couple of weeks. Like it's driving sales and demand and interest. Like let the conversation happen organically. And like they did some funny response videos, but you know, that was it. That was it. And I think they handled that.
You need to stoke it, right? You need to be like a facilitator. You do not need to get involved or intervene in a heavy-handed way. Like one of the best examples of recent, as well, at least for me, again, I know that's subjective, was the Kai Cenat, Kevin Hart, and Fabletics. No one was talking about Fabletics men's. Kevin Hart goes on the stream. He literally gets Kai Cenat, who is signed to a Nike deal. Jordan, I'm looking at you because I'm very confused when I saw it. It happened twice now with Drewski, who is also signed to Nike, who was also playing around in Fabletics. This is like the best thing you can ask for. And there's no way Fabletics would have planned this. They couldn't have planned this. You know what I mean?
This is the power of a funny friend. Honestly, this is the power. But look, the Fabletics Kevin Hart thing, I feel like was just been a kind of an L, just because Fabletics is such an L. But like, if you just get, this is the power of a funny dude. Kevin Hart can't make you pop on social, but in any environment, like if you're in a room with that dude, I guarantee he can mind control you to do whatever you want just by being hilarious and amazing. And I think there's a large power to that unlocks in live streaming.
I can't say it enough. I just think it's so smart, and it's just going along kind of with what Ashwin's saying is like that is the power of like this strategy should be knowing the space, knowing how to plug into the space, but not trying to control it because you can't.
Yeah, but it goes against the fundamental nature of corporations and their marketing team. You know, they're trying to manufacture this stuff to justify it. And of course, I actually remember seeing the McDonald's CEO in their earnings report talk about the trending nature of the shake. So that of course they'll take credit.
1,000,000%. And like what kills me is like every marketing team will be asking their question as they like do their planning for the year. It's like, how do we like enter culture? How do we become like culturally relevant? And they'll be like, how do we become culturally relevant like Stanley, right? And it's like, listen, Stanley was smart in riding trends, but they're like, oh, how do we like recreate that car fire moment? It's like Stanley didn't plan that moment. They just responded to
online. You got to be online.
You just have to be online and do just like a quick response. They responded in 24 hours. They responded 5 days later. That campaign was going nowhere. It wasn't.
Right.
This is another rant that like I have a lot when I go into these corporations. They're like, how do we go better at social? All these corporations have a Slack channel where they share social links. They share our videos in it. They're like, how do we do this? And I'm in here like doing these workshops. And the number one thing is I'm like, you need a culture of content. That's how you have that creative is like when you walk in the door, I guarantee like people that crush content, like Nude Project is a good example. They crush content. I guarantee in the Nude Project office, same thing with Midday Squares, people that live and breathe content, that everyone is talking about TikTok and shit all the time. Video cameras are on all the time. People are arguing about TikTok all the time and they're doing shit. It's like, oh, there's an idea. I'm making a draft. And so if you want to be in that cultural moment, that needs to be your culture. And where does culture start? It starts at the top. So if managers and executives are taking social media seriously and sharing links and doing it and making whatever, I mean, look at like even Zuckerberg going on and doing a live, or even Adam from Instagram, like they're creating a culture of content throughout their organization. And it doesn't take much. Even if your CEO is just posting little quick videos on LinkedIn, that starts a culture of content. People see it in the office, and then response and approval and everything becomes fast. So if you want that change at your company, then at least from like VP tier, need to be participating.
Yes, and I just want to add to this, Oren. I think we all have a rant on this. When I go speak, I often remind, and I've been saying this for 15 years, but like people forget that social media is social, and they they think that it's media where you're creative and you just put it out for people to consume. No, it's social. It should be a conversation. Everything we're talking about is a call and response, a communication, a back and forth. And so that Stanley CEO, to use some of the verbiage I use, where people struggle, you have the opportunity to serve them. And so this woman shared about the Stanley. The CEO did a iPhone response video that got 5 trillion views or whatever. But it's essentially where this person struggled and shared it on social. You respond on social because it's a social media platform. And so we need to have that interaction and connection.
Yes, 100%. There's this really good, there's this one account on TikTok, this guy Be Better, and he like breaks down these like celebrity and creators brands, and like his whole shtick is like the downfall the downfall of X, the downfall of Y, the downfall of stuff. He's great analysis. I like his account, but like that's his whole thing is like, this is why this thing sucks and it's overhyped. And I remember he did one on crumble cookies, and he's like, this is unedible, I can't even eat it, but he does this in this like really eloquent, concise way. And what I think was really interesting is like a brand, when they see a negative review, a lot of brands shy away from that. And it's like, you need to stop operating in this world where you think negative reviews don't exist. Like consumers are smart and savvy. When they hear about your product and they see only 5-star reviews, that's a huge red flag. And it's like the smart brands will like highlight some of their negative reviews or respond to them or engage with them, So what Crumble did is like the CEO of Crumble got on TikTok and he was just like, hey man, like our cookies aren't for everyone. And like, yeah, they're like a little bit too indulgent. I'm sorry you didn't have a good experience. I would love to co-create a cookie with you if you want to like come into our, that's the response. Like that is the response.
That is fire.
Brands should be operating like you don't have to be the generator of content. You can simply just listen and respond intelligently.
Ashwinn, I want to tee something up because I'm looking at time, but it's connected to what you just said. And I'm very curious to get y'all's opinion on this. Because what you just said was, in this instance, it made sense for a brand or a CEO to actually respond to this comment or this conversation that was happening. Whereas I felt very differently in regards to an ad that Nike just put out, Jordan Brand just put out. And essentially in this ad, after the Celtics championship, Jason Tatum, their signature athlete, wins, right? Reinforcing Jordan Brand's brand as like greatness, right? Or legacy is greatness. They took time in this spot that cost millions of dollars to throw a shot at a smaller brand that doesn't even have the comparable amount of market share that they have as Adidas, and took a shot at Adidas and Anthony Edwards. And I'm curious, like in this scenario, does that make sense? Is that a good move? Is that a bad move? Jordan, you over here giggling. What's your opinion on this?
I am torn, and I go back to you think about the channeling of the human who is the namesake of this brand. Michael Jordan is notorious for being a like psycho competitor, and he was even so much so that he was at his Hall of Fame speech like still holding grudges from like his early practice day with like practice squad players on the Bulls, bro. Like, and it's like, you're the GOAT. You don't need to stoop to this level. But I actually think like it kind of fits Jordan Brand a little bit. Like Anthony Edwards, you want to take a shot at the beginning of the season? How did it feel getting knocked out in the second round of the playoffs? Like, we're here celebrating the finals. So in some ways it's authentic to the namesake of the brand, but there's plenty of other things they could do, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Ashwinn, I know you're not super big on the sports side, but just looking at it compared to the example from the TikTok and the Cookie Crumble CEO compared to this, like, do you think that's fair game? Do you think the other thing I would say here is like, there's production money involved. And the thing that happened on TikTok, there was no brand investment involved. So, I mean, Ashwinn and Oren, I'm very, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I think it's like, I think it's easier to do when you have when like the original kind of like comment is happening on the channel where you can like engage in dialogue pretty easily. I think say like going from, hey, this was like an ad, a TV spot or something, and then bringing that to another channel, like you bring light to it again, and then you have to talk about it. It can just be like a heavier and more challenging lift. But like so much of the dialogue is still like just happening on social, and maybe there's dialogue happening around it where like, okay, let me see what people are saying, and like, let me, just like kind of retweet or like re-up their post and like, add my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, no, I think like for me, I think the biggest issue for me with it was I don't know, and maybe this is maybe this is old school thinking. I just couldn't imagine spending my money if this is my budget, right? Or especially thinking about myself as a an independent creator, right? Like I can't imagine going spend money to take a shot at Oren, like, and then Oren gets the benefit of me taking a shot and I get none of it,
Yep.
Let me challenge you on that. Let me challenge you on that though, Biba, because
Yeah.
we all know enragement equals engagement. And so like
And Jason Tatum doesn't have a personality to leverage, so we got to do something.
yeah, indeed. So, but this is actually quite interesting to juxtapose these two. The conversation we just had about TikTok and Stanley, which that will go down in marketing record books. This one is probably will be forgotten by 2 weeks from now. And it's interesting to think about. We're over here comparing like large multi-million-dollar ad budgets from yesteryear. And these TikTok things are the things that will live on and be remembered forever, which is really fascinating on the way that it's changing.
I mean,
I think that instead, maybe go ahead, Bima.
No, I was just gonna say it should be folks should be changing their budgets and how they spend their budgets based on the habits that have changed. Like to continue to do those things, they look great, right? To me, they just come from a place of ego and pride. It's like it looks great, but is it effective, right?
Mm-hmm. Right,
and it's not.
So I feel like if I was going to pitch a campaign for Jordan Brand for this and this championship, I would be like, cool. I'd immediately unsign Jason Tatum. And I would immediately sign Jaylen Brown. And then it would be a TikTok series of just Jaylen Brown as a polymath. It's right. Jaylen Brown playing 2 games of chess at the same time. Jaylen Brown out here solving the Goodwill Hunting equation. You know what I mean? Like, and then just like it's kind of like the way you have Nikola Jokic. There's all the jokes about him as basketball as an afterthought. It's like Jaylen Brown's out here like putting rockets into space like in his free time. And then like what happened to have won the championship. I'm just saying that's the Jordan ethos. My man, he's so into it. He's out here like trigonometry in the free time. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I actually didn't know that Jordan was on TikTok, so I went to look, and that they are on TikTok. But this is fun fact: they have less followers than Dr. Pepper, Ashwin, 780,000. But it's so, it's so counter. I watch Nike try to do TikTok and Jordan, and it's just so counter to where they've come from. Like I don't know that they'll ever really figure it out.
But I like one thing I got to go back to. I can't let him slide on that. I love Oren because Oren's gonna come with the heat, and I gotta agree. And Jordan, you gotta speak on this. I'm sorry, you can't skate on this one. He said Jason Tatum should be unsigned, and you had a quote where you said he's not a signature athlete.
He's not a signature athlete. It's a terrible cycle that we've gotten ourselves in, which is where all these AAU star kids come out. They all think they deserve a signature shoe. And so when it comes around signing time, basically each brand is going to say, hey, we'll give you a signature shoe. Well, and so they basically have to match that. And so since you have all these brands who are willing in the signing negotiation, it's ridiculous. He's not a signature athlete. It's gotten out of control. We have 25 signature athletes out there.
The number one attribute that's missing from a signature athlete, and I give this almost to Luka in the same way, is like you need a personality. And Luka, it's different than having it on court.
Yes.
But you need something to bring it out there. And like Ant immediately personality, right? Jaylen Brown immediately personality, and you can build a myth around that shit. It's like, you know what? He doesn't have a sneaker shoe deal because he's working for the CIA. Like it's just like they need his mind.
Well, it's true, but I would argue that like Luka is distinct and disruptive enough to the NBA that he might warrant it. He's got the Euro connection. Again,
yeah, exactly. That's like a culture one, and you can at least build a narrative around it. Like he's just like practicing yelling at referees in his free time or whatever. But like,
totally.
We're about to hit the hour mark, just for what it's worth.
What else do we have? We have Pharrell on tap.
We got Pharrell. Do we want to do 60 seconds on Pharrell? I got a 10 o'clock meeting, so my hour is a hard stop.
Oh God! Oh, he's got a hard stop. Oh no. Okay.
No. We'll save Pharrell for another time. The only thing I would say about Pharrell's various partnerships and collaborations is that he's at a place where he does need to consider how to maintain the quality. He's spread too thin. It's starting to show up in places. Obviously, fans are starting to comment on it. It's not driving the results for a lot of his partners. He's got to revisit it.
Yeah, I give Joe Mazzulla a shoot first. Whoever said that in the comment, Joe Mazzulla. And that's
Joe
another one.
Mazzulla.
This guy has to be on the media like far more. He's like, I got a friend that's like, that is Joe Mazzulla. You just got that wild card in your friend group where you're like, what did you say? You know, like,
Hey, we just hit 1,000. We just hit 1,000 viewers. That was the goal, I think. And
1,000 concurrent viewers. Let's go. Yeah, man. Yeah. Do we have to be scheduling these out to be like 2 hours? My attention span. I lost it like 14 minutes ago. I'm not gonna lie. ADHD kicking. Yeah. All of us. We appreciate y'all coming. We are doing this every week. We will be in this same format and around this same time. I believe this should save on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing. DM Bima all your topics. Any questions you have, you want a free consult, he's going to take care of you. You know what I mean? And we'll work on it. We'll work on it from there. But we appreciate y'all so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
See ya.
Brand sister.